to preserve the limited water resource of the city for the duration of this water season. That's the agenda item. You have the resolution before you. Let's discuss that for just a minute or two. Basically, this gives, if and when we come to a situation where we have an emergency situation with water flow, it gives Ty the authority to make some decisions as need be in that critical situation. Okay, with that much said, start with Ty. Ty, do you have some additional information you want to present to us? Or just want to hear what the council's thoughts are?
No, I just think it's kind of a uncomfortable thing, I think, for a city manager to say, oh yeah, this is nice. We could be reactive, but it also puts a lot of pressure. And I think I'll still need to keep the council informed. You won't be able to vote and that sort of thing, but just that expectation that it's not just a unilateral thing. And then also making sure I'm getting the best information available as we make the decisions. And then just kind of let everybody know. And then even though we potentially pass this, then if there is time, that I still prefer to have the council make specific decisions. So this is just strictly an emergency, procedure, not just a handover like, here, good luck, get us through the season, if you want to call it that. I do rely on our staff. I'm working with our SCADA guy right now to get better information on our wells situations. We're measuring drawdowns and that sort of thing. We do recognize that we have about half the water flow in 2 of our springs currently, and it's so that's pretty much where we're at. I'm not sure on the time frame as I read the title through the water season. That's something else we might want to look at. I didn't read through it thoroughly, but if it has dates on there, just recognizing our sources of water aren't going to recharge until spring. So just so it's not short-sighted, like, here, let's get us through August or September, knowing that this situation could linger. So those are my initial thoughts.
Eric, anything other thoughts you've had?
Yeah. I think this is a good thing. I think obviously recognizing Ty, we wouldn't want you to, we'd want you definitely to keep us in the loop of what's going on with the water and where we're at with those, realizing, I think this resolution was realizing that if there ever came a point in time where something drastic happened, that we'd want you to act for us. But obviously, too, we know that you'll keep us in the loop. So I'm good with this resolution. As far as the date, I could see us, even if things started to swing around, we could be in the October, November, still December even, still maybe light on water. So I think we leave it. Don't necessarily put a specific date on it, is what I'm trying to get to. The other thing that I was thinking about today is the actual water restrictions that we need to probably start imposing. I was telling the mayor yesterday, I was in the rec board meeting and started hearing about the decision to shut the splash pad down, and some of the people not being very well informed as to how much that thing actually uses, and the decision that, it's just river water. And it was like, no, it's not river water. It's actually culinary water. And so it was just an opportunity maybe for me, just for a few people to actually inform them. So I think we need to think about the restrictions that we need to put in place. But I also think that we need to also start some kind of campaign to start explaining to people and just informing them of why we're making the decisions. We didn't just shut the splash pad down just because. It's the amount of water that thing consumes a week. It just, to me, is a little bit staggering. And also too, I think we, as a city, I've been doing some reading and there's other municipalities and other cities that are taking a pretty bad beating for putting water restrictions in place and them not doing much for them trying to conserve water too. So I also think as a city that we need to look at ways that we can conserve water where we can, do that too. So that's what I got to say in a general statement. So.
Tony?
Well, just a couple of thoughts I had today on it was, I like this because it gives Ty the ability to pull a lever if he feels a need to, without trying to get us all back together and as a council, which some things may need to be done on a more timely basis, and this allows that to happen. I realize, of course, and I have a little bit of sympathy for Ty as well, because I know this is kind of puts the onus on him a little bit, but I think it's important that we as a council, whatever Ty's decision is, that we back him and we support him on these decisions. And I think it, probably behooves each of us on the council as well, as Eric said, to do our part to just remind people of, I was talking to a couple of people yesterday, today, when did we have city council? Tuesday. And they said something, I says, just go drive past Echo Reservoir or Pine View Reservoir, Lost Creek Reservoir, if you need a reason to, why we're going to start implementing some of these policies. So, but yeah, I think it's important that we support Ty on his decisions, and I appreciate the fact that Ty's willing to, keep us in the loop and keep us on board and not make any, big drastic changes probably without discussing it with us and having a conversation with us. So, yeah, I think as we discussed it the other night at city council meeting, I just feel this is a resolution that we need to pass.
Jeffrey, any thoughts you've had since you've been apprised of what's
Well,
going on?
I completely concur. It gives us a chance to move quicker if need be, which I think is a great move for all of us. And I guess I meant the number 3 on here. I haven't been part of the water meetings and water board stuff. Working with the secondary water, are they amenable to work with us, to work with Ty?
That,
Okay.
As long as we have something put in place.
Chad,
they'll back it.
Chad talked to him, so they would back.
Able to, it's Morgan City's policy.
it kind of mentions it a little bit in the,
Right.
but it sounded like they were very amicable to
Yeah.
agreeing with our recommendations.
With our recommendation. So I just was
That came up.
curious where their
And
direction was.
That came up.
the reality is the enforcement side will fall to us, or keeping track of it. So
Sure.
They are supportive of
They're
whatever we
willing to
do.
support.
Good
I
question.
think it brings up another interesting point that I didn't talk about before, is that culinary and secondary are 2 separate water issues. One's a surface water and the other one's groundwater that we use. And so part of our, maybe impossible to enforce is the use inside homes, but a lot of it's going to be educational. So what we're trying to do is protect our drinking water until next season. And so there's interesting dynamics where you might say, hey, the ditch is full, right, for now. And then that could reverse where the ditch is totally empty and people want to maybe revert to using culinary water. So we got to do our part on both at the same time, recognizing that secondary water will probably end at some point, and then we're just solely relying on what's left in the ground. So anyway, it's interesting because right now, any restrictions are going to be the visible lawn watering, but the reality is right now we need to start conserving as residents and homeowners.
Yep.
So it's a lot of educational stuff and asking for people's help. So anyway, just that dynamic I just wanted to bring out. It's not just us regulating lawns, basically.
Well, and in that light, it was the news about the wells, the situation with our culinary water wells. That's what shocked me a little bit the other night that I probably wasn't aware of. So, and I don't think there's anything wrong with telling our our folks, our citizens, that given, you know, that information, you know, that, hey, our culinaries, we need to really take care of that. So,
And we're also gonna find some leaks that we weren't aware of just because it hadn't been a big deal, but as we monitor our own system and clamp down and shut valves off to figure out what's metered, what's not metered, where the water's going. We're gonna be really aggressive on the system and get everything cleaned up, you know, as we can. So it's not like, I think it was Eric that said, if you ask everybody to shut down, just for your information, we're being conservative on our parks, our splash pads, you know, but also our system. Doing everything we can to get leaks and meters installed and meters working where they currently don't work. So anyway, that's.
Yeah, would you like to add anything else at this point?
No, other than just, you know, we
The green book. It's complicated.
Oh, sorry.
It's a little more complicated than.
now you put me on the spot. I was just fine a minute ago. But, you know, we're just going through versus last year in May when we used, when water was being, you know, accounted for in the springs versus this year in May. And so it's a huge amount of gallons, 54 million gallons less this year than last year in May
In 1 month.
in 1 month. Holy sh- 54 million gallons. That's in Robinson Springs. Now, Robinson Springs it's kind of a unique system. It gets its overflow from North Morgan. And North Morgan hasn't contributed to Robinson not once since summer's hit, you know, it's just,
Because that springs down also.
yeah, well, and there's a lot more water being used from North Morgan. Yeah, so I have a list here that I've been working on and, you know, getting a hold of some people to say, if no one's living in that home, how are they using 180,000 gallons in 1 month? Or 200,000 gallons in 1 month? When an average home with a family uses 5,000 to 8,000 gallons a month.
Mr. Button.
Tony.
this thought crossed my mind, so I'll bring it.
But, you know, it's just, I mean, you had former employee here and he says, we've never, ever had any less water in our springs. It's always been up and going and
We've never had these conditions.
right. So that's, you know, just, yeah.
So in that light, I'll throw this out there. I realize that all of the approved subdivisions and the building that's going on now will have to move forward. I was thinking of this yesterday. Does it make any sense that maybe we just put some type of a moratorium on any future growth?
On building construction until the water comes back.
Until, yeah.
I think we'll come back with more information.
That's just a thought.
Just,
That's a really good thought.
just a thought. I'm just throwing that out there.
That's a really good thought, but
Potential option.
yeah, it's a potential option, but like what we currently have as far as building permits in the pipeline, it's probably less of an impact than this list that we're cracking down on. So just to be honest, there's a couple of private users that are rivaling what the car wash uses. Right? So it's just never been an issue. And we're working on that. We're cleaning up some agreements. Billing and then our own usage, our own park. So I think we can save a bunch of water. There's just a lot of work that goes into it on all fronts. We're just kind of like what Chad said, we've just never been down this road before. I don't think anybody in the community's ever been asked to back off or conserve. We have really good water sources typically. So anyway, I kind of view that as a potential, but maybe more of a, I think there's some bigger impact things we can do first. Anyway,
I just know, I can feel it. We're all gonna get asked that at some point. Why aren't you stopping the building if we don't have any water? I mean, I know that's gonna come, but, you know, so.
I think that comes though on not approving any new subdivisions,
Yeah.
right? So everything that's being built is in the pipeline.
Correct,
Right.
yeah, correct. Yeah, you can't, I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about something
Okay,
brand new, you know,
okay,
that hasn't been even brought to planning, but anyway, just a thought.
yeah, we can do
Would
that.
you like to give us some thoughts?
So to go back to what Eric said about the city doing its part, me and Chad have been working together quite a bit in the last couple of months about slowing everything. If you go over to Riverside Park, you'll see it. It's brown. You go up to the cemetery, you'll see it. It's brown. So we've cut back drastically on our water usage. We've decided not to put any flowers in the flower pots on Commercial Street. We've dry scaped quite a few things in the last year. So the city is doing its part.
And I wasn't accused. I was just,
No, I was just letting you know
yeah.
what we've done so far.
Appreciate that. And
And if we need to do it more, I have no problem doing it. I'm gonna go over there tomorrow night and shut the splash pad down.
Yep.
So,
we had that one well down Island Road that they put in landscape a while back. We put water in it so it can, go down.
we can, I've cut it back to,
I don't know,
like
if it
twice
needs-
a
I don't know if it needs to stay green necessarily.
So I got one more night to run through the splash pad.
tomorrow night, 7:00, it's off. So, and it was busy today.
If
So-
it gets real bad, we'll reverse the decision and actually run the splash pad, and provide soap. And then cut off everybody's home water. So it could go either way.
And maybe, I'll just say a thought I had. Maybe with the splash pad, instead of shutting it all the way off, could we reduce the hours? Do you think that would help, Ro or
So
Chad? I mean,
so-
what's your thoughts? I mean, we could definitely keep.
my thought, I'd shut it off. Because you can go over there sometime and there's one kid and it's running full bore. We could run one or two fixtures. But the problem with doing that is you run one or two and then you got 60 kids over there. One or two fixtures isn't gonna do
Okay,
anything for 60 kids.
I just wanted to.
I support that, but the way I look at that is if we have problems with culinary water in the fall, we're gonna look back and say, why did we run the splash pad at all?
That's true.
Right?
That's
So hopefully we don't come to that, right? But where it's all on the culinary our choices of where we use water is that it's on the culinary system, right? So we're trying to make choices now that make sure that we don't run into that situation
In the future.
in the fall or winter. So
I don't think we're alone. My daughter lives in Cottonwood Heights, was telling me today that they're shutting a lot of them down in Salt Lake. So we're not unique in that
Mhm.
situation.
Austin, since you're here, go ahead and join us. Thoughts you have.
Okay, I feel like my name's Austin Turner. I'm the Morgan County Emergency Manager. I guess because of my career choice or whatever, I'm kind of a doomsday guy. And so I don't know if I'm gonna help you out or hurt you a little bit, but my big concern about you guys and your culinary water, because that also, if I'm not mistaken, goes into fire suppression as well. Am I right? Okay, on a good, I've heard hazmat stories in that where they've completely sucked all the water out of major cities, like Portland, Oregon style major cities, where they told them, you got 30 minutes of water left. and we're done. So I guess my concern as an emergency manager is one fire away and they can drain your guys' system, especially if you're down that many millions of gallons of water. Couple good house fires, something like that. You're not going to be showering. And I actually discussed that with someone yesterday. I said, they can either start doing restrictions now or this town's going to get very stinky very fast. Because when you're out, you're out. And so from my perspective as an emergency manager, any kind of a fire, any kind of a hazmat issue, the fire department's going to chew through your little bit of water you have rather quickly. And then what?
That's true, Austin. That's one thing I had down I was going to talk about too, but yes, thank you, Austin. So in addition to drinking water, fire protection is one. I think Chad knows the level of the tanks it needs to stay at in order to get a proper pressure. 6 foot or something, you said it's got to stay at that level. Off below that level, we're in jeopardy of not having enough water for a fire. So that's definitely a piece to it that adds to the concept. Yes, thank you, Austin. Go ahead, Ron.
I've got another question. With that being said, do we want to chance another 10,000 gallons tomorrow with the splash pad? Or do you want me to shut it off tonight?
I think go ahead and do what we said. You know, we're not, I want to go through enough tomorrow night, but we need to watch that monitor that tank level.
Okay.
That's critical. How much this, of course, this is all on YouTube. Anybody that's listening can hear it and start panicking and calling their neighbors. But this is part of education we want to try and put out. Let people know part of our reasoning or part of our need is for fire protection and fire flow. That's part of the need to keep the level in the tank up. It's not like we can drain the tank and everybody just doesn't drink until tomorrow or nobody showers tonight. If we get out a certain level in there for fire protection, anyway, I understand that concept. It's 2 or 3 things I want to try and talk about. That's one of them. Thank you, Austin. I was going to cover, so that's adequate. Austin, another question for you.
Yeah.
Spring up on the ranch. Have you noticed any difference there at home base, the flow of the coming out of the springs there?
We have a spring up on where I live that flows about 4 to 5 acre feet out of it. And my father-in-law, who's lived there forever, said that this is the lowest he's ever seen it.
Or is the spring flow out of the big spring there?
Yeah,
At
it's a
home
massive
base?
spring and it's down 50%.
You
So
noticed the difference in there.
absolutely
Okay.
huge difference.
That's one piece. It's great to talk about Pine View and other places. But I'm gonna bring it back to Morgan. That's one piece.
Mhm.
The other piece, you talked to Austin again about the range. Several springs have dried up on the range, not all, but
Correct.
several. I talked with Logan Wild, several springs dried up at the Lost Creek area. Not all, but several. The other night, we were told that some folks in Hartscrabble are starting to have to haul water. Hartscrabble, others are low. And so the 50% seems to be a fairly common number. Weaver Basin sent us a card a while back, so the reservoirs were down 50%. That's a pretty common number we hear around. Thing I appreciate about today's discussion, and again, Chad and Ro working together. And if we can work with Skate a little more to give us some more data, learn to read the data. If we monitor that flow, if the flow starts dropping even more, then we need to be aware so we can be proactive before it runs out. Now, I'd like to hope this is all for naught. Nothing's going to happen, but we need to be prepared in case something does. That's the scenario. I'm not predicting doomsday, not predicting it's all over, but we need to be prepared if something does happen. So I appreciate Chad been working for a while on getting some of the new meters put in. Those weren't reading, so we can track that. And Stephanie's been helping track the big users. We talked to them about seeing if they can cut back. The biggest piece is gonna be some education on our general public to see if, hey, we don't want to put out the sky is falling routine. We want to put out, we need to, everybody be help us in conserving water. The reality is the flow's not there. The reality is what replenishes, correct me if I'm wrong, what replenishes the ground level, groundwater is irrigation through the years, but the irrigation is not going down. So that's not replenishing the groundwater level. The thing that fills springs, from my knowledge, what we found out is the rainfall and the snowfall and the water on the mountain that gets down into the aquifers. That didn't happen this past year. There is a lag time on that. We're experiencing a drop now from last year, even the year before. That lag time, it could affect us next year. So the highest point, I want to change this wording. Instead of just saying the duration of this water season, I want to move at least till next spring. Because we're not going to see that spring recharge at least till next spring, if it starts to recharge then. Because there's a pretty good lag time, the way I understand the spring piece. Part of what's happened to the reservoir, even though if it does snow or does rain up on the mountains, none of that's getting the reservoirs. It's all soaking in the dry ground around it. So we could have a tremendous storm. It's not going to change our spring level. It's not going to change underground water level because it won't get there. You need a location. That was just, a couple thoughts I had. At some point, I think I'd appreciate, well, Ty's the kind of guy we all know is going to keep us informed. We appreciate that. He's going to work with these gentlemen and help them get the information we need. And we're going to work on this. And the things you're working on is awesome. Just keep that flowing, keep that going. I guess I'd like to also open the door. If any of you have any thoughts or ideas, please pass them on to Ty. As far as potential restrictions, things you hear about, things that maybe make sense to work on. We can't regulate somebody what they're doing in within their own household, except for some education to help them understand and learn and know. Those are listening to the news at night. They've heard about their cities, they've heard about Pine View and so forth. But in their mind, it doesn't click to Morgan's in the same situation. That transfer, that click hasn't happened. So somehow, without fear, we need to help know that that concept is part of what reality for us at this point. So conservation is a big thing we need to look at and need to be aware of. I appreciate the office staff and the things they've done as well. Denise and Stefan putting together some letters and looking at them. Chad's done that so we can get some education out. I think it's going to be a continual process, not just one letter and forget about it. It's going to be a continual process, help people understand it and help people know. So anyway, those are the thoughts that I've had, the things that I guess brought me to kind of push this is to be proactive. Not that we're out of water tomorrow. There's still some flow. But it is to the point where we need to be aware and put some policy and procedures that are appropriate. What they are, I'm not sure. As far as what's fair, I think drying up the lawns is the appropriate show of our effort. Other than the same my place. You see my lawn start to go, go brown too.
Governor Cox hit it on the head when he says, make yellow lawns beautiful again.
Another thing I'd like to see with our ordinances too is to be able to allow us to have zero scape. At this point, if I put in a commercial building, it's against our ordinance for me to put in dry scape. If I build a home, it's against the ordinance for me to put in dry scape in my park strip. So we need to look at some ordinances, I think, and allow that to be not against the ordinance. To allow somebody to dry scape if they have an interest. Not how somebody put that in place. That's their piece to it, I think. there's a lot of people that drive if they want, instead of feeling like, oh, they're going against the code. You know, across the street here, that's what they want to do. We pushed because it's in the ordinance to have, you know, put in greenery and stuff. You can discuss whether or in front of meat shop is appropriate with those baskets and flowers, or you'd rather have green grass like you've got next door at Family Dollar. That's just another piece to it. So there's several pieces. That's one piece. It would be an ordinance on drivescaping. Another piece is what kind of restriction we try and put in. There's lots of ways you can do it. I don't think that odd and even number on the street works, because that encourages the water every day, you know, once a week, so forth. And part of education, let people know that lawns are resilient. They'll go dormant and they'll come back. If we get water, they'll come back. It's not like you kill them, everything's going to die. It's make quite a mindset. When people have a mindset of what they think they need and deserve and want not to have, it's quite a mindset that they change and accept, and this is okay. So we got to have a mind, people have to have a mindset change. It's okay to have a brown lawn instead of vibrant green lawn, you know, and pretty flowers. So we have to, you know, kind of work through that with an education piece. The brown lawn's okay, xeriscape's okay. I've got a thing I look at on the news all the time. It's the Utah gardening thing. And some of them talked about how they can xeriscape and how they can do that. And then some of them come and, well, my city doesn't let me do that. And I just said, well, talk to us, you know, say, because xeriscape is something that's, you know, is it possible to do? And those are just some of the various kind of, you know, of thoughts and things that, you know, that I've had with the situation. Okay. So what we do, give information to Ty, brainstorm some thoughts and ideas as far as what we want to try and educate on and what we want to try to implement. Okay.
This is what I got down, kind of what do we need to give you and the staff direction as to these are the restrictions that we think, are you guys coming up with the restrictions? I mean, I think we got to put something in place, right?
I think we get past someone and let Ty and staff put it together.
And so one of my thoughts is people have no idea. I think just starting with this, how bad it is and seeing how people react is just the first, give them an opportunity. So just like the feedback you got, the splash paddle sent a first message, right? But I believe when people are aware that this isn't just somewhere else in the state, because we've never had water problems in Morgan, we also have the type of community that will, I believe, take some ownership and step up, and then we'll see what restrictions. But we're kind of, our approach is going to be like educating people on an individual basis, right? So when we see someone's sprinklers in the middle of the day, or it's watering half the road along with the water, the Chad's just really dedicated to
Stopping and putting the door hanger on there and
Yep.
saying, hey,
I was gonna see if we can better that and put a sign in their front yard.
Well, we have signs.
Yeah,
That's where
have
we place them,
signs.
just to make sure they see them. Right?
Yeah, I'm gonna put them out through the town and on the corners, but if there is someone and we approach them, after we approach them, they continue to do it, we'll just put that sign in there.
Yeah, and then
And then, you know, that might be like, oh, okay, yeah, I better shut my sprinkler off.
Have you had a chance to talk to the Robinson group yet? That separate water company, you had a chance to talk to them yet?
Excuse me, who's that again, sir?
Have you had a chance yet to talk with that Robinson group? North Morgan, not North.
Oh, North Morgan.
Not North Morgan,
Oh.
the Robinson group.
Oh,
Those 14.
no, I haven't. There was one guy is me and Keaton talked to, and he was kind of telling us what house is all on it. In between, we had a blue stake there, but I didn't, that was the one person I didn't get with.
Most of those folks are gonna be willing to help conserve. They really are.
Right.
We just need to let them know there's the situation.
but that's kind of my thing. I think we're putting this in place, but not necessarily, I don't know that we're asking for specifics, but if we need to ask someone to conserve and just see, we'll keep monitoring and we'll get better information, right? We'll do our part as a city on our own system. But I think just help getting the word out, because where we're monitoring the culinary system, some of that also entails monitoring the city bills and reaching out to people that we see large amount to use, right? Like, hey, do you have somebody else living there that wasn't there last year? Just what's going on, because we've noticed.
An increase in your water.
Yeah, so there shouldn't be any increase in water. And then some of the other, large users and that sort of thing. So one's visible and the other one's kind of like, let's get the word out, and we'll just do, our best at conserving and starting at the top, if you want to call it the top or the
Educate.
bottom, and just work down. And once these signs go out in neighborhoods and stuff like that, I think neighbors would also be interested in, hey, I let my lawn burn up. Why is there green? And contact us so we can work through it. So I don't know that we're not necessarily asking today for a one size approach. And I'll keep the council informed. And if I feel like, hey, this is what we've done, this is where we're at, I'll come back to the council for more recommendations. Unless it's, part of town that's like the minute that the tank goes down and we need to take some immediate action, then we will. So,
One quick question in that light.
okay.
I've been asked this. So what would we recommend right now as far as secondary? How many times a week? What are we saying? Twice?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so that's the other thing, is we're going to be following that state recommended website for information. There's also some really good resources on incentives. If you want to get a smart system for you get like $75 incentive for.
And they cost like $75, I heard.
So some of those things.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I have a neighbor, he has a green yard and he also has moisture sensors and an app and everything on it. Like it's like, I'm not sure that he's necessarily abusing water to get it that way,
Just managing it well.
but I have a lot more confidence in what,
Yeah.
in what he's doing. Cause it's not just, hey, my timer's messed up or I wasn't home, so I never shut my water off, that sort of thing. It's,
Yeah.
He could dial it down, I'm sure, but, well, it's just kind of everyone's gonna have to be patient with each other and do their part and hopefully feel good about the contribution that they're making. So anyway, we'll get the word out.
Wait for a motion.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. Just one quick question. I didn't bring my glasses. So would where it says up on the resolution, it says, what is it, for the duration of the water season?
Right there.
And right there below that?
Yeah.
What if we just what if we just replace that with until further notice?
What if you just change it to through spring of 2022?
I'm thinking, don't even put a timeline on it. How
Until
about
further notice.
just until further notice?
Like with the fire restriction, we didn't even have a timeline.
I'm suggesting we don't put a timeline on it.
The limited water resources of the city until
Further notice.
further.
That's my suggestion.
Or until the city manager gets fired, one of those, whichever comes first.
That ain't happening.
Sorry, I just said that. I apologize. I did not. What am I doing to myself?
But if that's okay, I mean, that's how I would form the motion, but
I think that's good because, I could see us seriously, if you're being, I could see us getting into October, November, December and still being short. The springs aren't going to come back up by
Do
then.
we even do we need, we got first whereas the state of Utah is under severe drought with extreme need to preserve water. I always put a period there.
that's fine too.
That's fine.
Don't worry about it. Like fire restrictions, it's ongoing until revoked?
In fact,
Or you put a period there, or you put until revoked?
They have to preserve the limited water resources for the city.
period.
Period, on both the resolution and on
Yep.
whereas, the first whereas.
Either put a period there or else until revoked.
I like the period.
Okay. Ready for motion?
Mayor,
Fine.
I will make a motion that we adopt the resolution 2120. A resolution granting to the city manager the power to consider and impose water restrictions to preserve the limited water resources for the city, period. And change the next paragraph down to say, whereas the state of Utah is under a severe drought with extreme, what does it say? Need to preserve water, period. I need my glasses.
Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
Motion by Tony, second by Eric. We pass resolution 21-20. Resolution granting to the city manager the power to consider and impose water restrictions to preserve limited water resources of the city. Period. That point, scratch the remainder of that sentence. Same thing on whereas, period after water, scratch the remainder of that sentence. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll vote by roll call. Jeffrey.
Aye.
Tony.
Aye.
Eric. Aye. Okay, motion passed unanimously. You understand what passes there? David talked about potentially imposing, if we need to, additional fee for overage. We change the overage rate as an option. Some people say that's a fast way to get building service, change the overage rate for for the summer season. Anyway, just something to consider. Anything else? Going once, going
I
twice.
just, with Austin here,
Yeah.
and we've got one meeting before the 4th of July. Where are we with our firework? I see they're putting the big tent up in front of Ridley's right now.
Do we have any fireworks? Awesome.
I can, so
You didn't have to turn the mic back on. I just had that discussion with the fire chief right now. I haven't read what the governor has said about fireworks, but supposedly municipalities and professional fireworks are still good, but everything else is not. All personal fireworks are, from what I understand at this point. Granted, that could change, but that's,
So I can add to that. So today's the first day of fire restrictions at stage 1 or whatever they call it, but it's all of the unincorporated and state lands. We have our fire restrictions area in place. And so inside the city, they're not currently restricted, but on those edges next to so, and then on those same areas, we're adding open flame or, so fire pits in the backyard and all that would be to that same area. But within town, they haven't been restricted and cells haven't been.
right now I know that the sheriff just signed a fire restriction for all state lands inside of Morgan County. I was just talking to him. So up where the East Canyon fire is, where it burned quite a bit of the state's ground, it's all under fire restrictions. And so the Stoddard Sloughs is under fire restrictions. It's all been signed by the State Division of Forestry and the sheriffs.
I understand that's a current one, but today my thought went to, if my lawn turns brown, should I have sprinklers? My kids have sprinklers in my front yard, sparklers.
Or anything
It's,
else.
it was different when my lawn was green.
With,
It was different when I had
and-
green lawn, when I never had green lawn.
and-
If my lawn's brown now, does that change
if
what
we're,
the fire restrictions
if we're gonna
have
go,
been?
if we're gonna go back to that, even as I've been up dealing with the East Canyon fire, some of that grass looks green in concept, but it's not. What little bit of grass that was up there, on a normal year, it'd probably be a foot plus tall and it's 6 inches. It looks green-ish, but it is extremely dry and it burns very, very fast. And so that we're hopefully I'll find out here in a little bit. Hopefully we're winding down on that fire and it's completely contained. Hopefully. But having said that, it's dry. So we might,
So I think that's the purview of the city council for the city. Right now, it's not restricted to the
Right.
city, but if you would like to have a meeting, before the 4th of July to consider that, but right now we don't have anything to point to that says you can't sell. And then the ones that do sell, we require them to give our map. The map's getting updated right now so that it goes with every cell of where the restricted areas are. They're setting up, but they can't sell until a week before. So we can, that's totally up to the council if they would like to do something more.
could
But
we,
right now, inside the city limits, it's
could,
not.
could we maybe put a disclaimer with your map of if you start a fire, you buy it?
Responsible, yeah.
And I don't know if enough people quite realize that if you start a fire and big wildland fires are about $1 million a day. So,
How about house fires?
no, house fires are not. Well, if you burn your neighbor's house down,
And
okay.
And it's $1 million in about 28 minutes.
Yeah.
And
Depending on the house.
and the rest of the city is not gonna be able to shower till the tanks refill.
I shouldn't joke about that, but.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you have $600 million homes, one burns down,
Yeah, so if
because somebody had some fireworks going, left the kids alone there, the grass was dry because the city asked them to not water. I don't know where that puts you liability wise.
As much as I love fireworks, I'm probably not gonna enjoy them this year.
and
Anyway, I don't really answer, that's like something hit me today.
we could, that could just be an agenda item for the next meeting before the last meeting in June. And have Boyd,
People be upset if they buy them, then we tell them they can't set them off.
That's why we put up our big message board saying no fireworks. So hopefully people think twice before they spend their money.
Anyway. I gotta quit having these thoughts, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Thanks for your input. Thanks for things you do.
What wells and springs do we even have?
So here's our Robinson Springs. This is up by Ray's house.
Above right.
Yeah, you know how